Hello, everybody. It's Bill from the Sit Rep Podcast. I'm with the full crew today as we bring you the next exciting episode of the show. To my left is the Dawn.
Morning.
To Dawn's left is Martin.
Morning.
Below Marty, in the Brady Bunch style, is Oriskany Jim.
Hello, everyone.
And then off to his right is Chris.
Hello, everyone.
All right, guys, here we go. So today we got an interesting show for you as we talk about the industry. The bubble has burst. I'm saying it now. I have claimed it. I am putting it down. The golden age of gaming is over. Okay? And we'll talk about that and much, much, much more after we go into our intro in 3, 2, 1.
Big Duke 6 Eagle Thrust. Put on Sidewalk. Sing it loud. Into the Romeo Foxtrot. Shall we dance?
You are listening to the SitRep Podcast, your source for everything related to historical wargaming. Whether you are looking for the latest wargaming news, reviews, painting tutorials, or playthroughs, you will hear about it right here. So grab your favorite beverage or brush and let's hit it.
All right, guys. We're back. Before we get into the meat and taters of the show.
Potatoes.
We're going to catch up on what everybody's been up to lately and then a little bit of news. And then we'll get into it. So we are going to start around the world. Mr. Big, Oriskany Jim, what's going on, sir?
Not too much since last time. A couple rounds of COVID, a couple hurricanes, a couple health crises in the close family. So it's been busy. We still put out some content. However, we finished up our last bit of the Gulf War that we did in 7 days to the River Rhine. So content still goes out despite all that stuff. And we've got some content coming out tomorrow and the week after that. So we're good to go on that score.
Very good.
Nice.
I'm sorry to hear about your health issues within the family and COVID sucks.
Yeah, the COVID's more or less over. I think Jen's still coughing a little. Had a virtual meeting with the doctor yesterday, and yeah, it was definitely COVID.
Yeah.
But it goes around.
Mm-hmm.
It's never really going to be gone.
Yeah.
It's true.
Christopher.
Good morning. Not much. I've been doing some D&D, of course. Tuesday, I ran my first adventure as DM. Well, my first one since 1980 something, and it went well.
Cool.
Very good.
Fun stuff.
What campaign are you doing?
Just practicing the starter campaign. My sister's stepson just turned 13, and he's starting to get into it. So we're trying to get him playing and everything. So I'm going to be running an adventure over there, and so I've got the guys at Critical Grind letting me run through.
Nice.
Cool. All right. Marty?
Well, not a whole lot. Life's been super busy at Casa del Schaefer, but the saga continues with my clan rats. I may have made a tactical error by batch painting 110 of them at once.
Oh no.
They are almost done. Almost. So I work on them as I catch as catch can, like pull out one color, use half a bottle of it because there's all of these.
Yeah. That's true. I think the quantity of paint involved is probably more than usual.
Yeah. I might have overextended myself on that one. But that being said, progress is being made. I have 10 dudes that I have left to do the metal on, and then after that, it is weathering and details. So, and when I say weathering, it's going to look a whole lot like Agrax Earthshade, and a lot of it.
Yeah.
There's 110 figures and 28 mil.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
I,
I've done armies that big, but only in 15. I can't even imagine doing. I do 28 and 30 figures at a time, but I'm ready to
Excuse me.
that,
poke my
that's
eyes
not
out.
that's not even the army, Jim. These are just the dudes that go in front of the army that are speed bump.
Yeah.
I
The
have
meat shield.
another. Yeah, I have another. I don't know, 45 of the actual guys that are going to do the work that
Yeah.
are just primed right now.
You know, instead of getting the Agras Earthshade, Army Painters got the pints of shade. You could just dip them in there.
Yeah, but I have Agrax or Shade, and I don't have the other stuff. So
Well, if you have a can of wood stain, it's the same stuff, essentially.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got that going on for me. Also,
don't use the ebony.
Badger Games is doing a paint contest of sorts. I mean, really, it's a kind of a memorial thing for a sculptor that that died recently. So one of the miniatures that he sculpted, called Friends, is what's being sent to everybody that is in it, and it looks like, I don't know if you can.
Hold on a minute, Marty. Okay.
Can you see those
Yep.
guys?
Oh, nice.
Work in progress. I cut them off the metal base and put them on the 60 mil oval here. I'll have a barrel with a couple of like candles on it that sits next to them, and their shields will be laying on the ground behind them. So that's what I've been kind of focused on the past week or so as I've had time. I haven't even gotten to portions of it yet. They haven't done their feet or any of the like leather stuff, any of that jazz. Needs a bunch of detailing done. It's really just blocking in the base colors right now. So that's my current project that I've kind of focused on because I have to get that back to Badger Games in Milwaukee by November 1st. So figure I should probably focus my efforts there to make the timeline.
Gotcha.
Did you ever find out about how you did on your last Badger contest?
I was thanked for participating. Yes.
So if
Good job,
anybody
buddy.
is
You did it.
interested,
3 years running.
here is the link for that charity.
Yep.
Very cool.
So for $6,
nice.
That's not bad for a little white metal piece.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty nice figure.
And when is it due by?
For the painting contest, it has to be. They have to receive it by November 1st. So that's the miniature, but that's not the painting contest. If there's a separate link to the contest, Badger sent that to me for free.
Nice.
Under the conditions that since I participated in previous painting contests, here, if this is something you want to do, let us know. So I signed up for it. They send it back, or they send it to me. I have to send it back to them. It's still theirs. I can't. You're expected to not keep it. But you can buy the miniature that you just showed if you want it for your own personal collection, and it's $6. I mean,
yep.
It's a pretty nice little figurine there.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you need any barrels, I have some already pre-printed.
I got the barrel in progress. It's a couple of candles on skulls on top of it.
Nice.
So,
very nice.
Yeah.
Ordered.
No.
And a shock to no one.
What's
Hey,
$6?
I was gonna say you're welcome. It's $6, not $600.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
But you guys have now used your bill. You should get that for the show. So we're
Hey,
done.
nobody said Bill should get that. No. Words mean things. See, I was merely sharing what my project was there, Don.
True.
So
That's true.
I didn't tell anybody that, particularly Bill, that they had to go do this. I just said it was a thing and that I was doing it.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
So wait until we get to the Warlord starter set all in. No.
No.
Does Bill have FOMO I mean, Mofo.
Mofo
Yes.
for the FOMO.
Oh, there was a third thing that came up. I can't even think of what it was, but we expounded upon it one more step too.
I don't remember.
Shoot, I don't remember. Oh, did I write it down?
No, it's
have
it
to look.
was
Oh yeah, that's great.
GW marketing policy.
Go on.
Yes,
No,
but
that was
no,
that was by the WHO.
yes, but somebody said something dumb at home and gave us another 4 letters that were in similar with that to put with
Oh,
it.
okay. All right.
Yeah. So Bill, what have you been working on?
What have I been working on? I have been working on this.
Ooh,
That's what I've
coming
been
along
working.
nicely.
And he broke out the fancy brushes.
Yeah, I did. The artist opuses have been out. They are amazing, by the way. You wouldn't think that a brush could be that different, but they hold paint beautifully. They lay down paint very smoothly. Now, to be fully transparent, the base is airbrushed. So the light tan brown is airbrushed, but all this dark shadows here you see is all by hand. And it's multiple layers, and they are, the whole 2 thin coats. Try about 5 thin coats.
Right.
But yeah, so this is coming out really well. It literally, I lay down a layer, and then I'll go in and try and blend it into the next layer. And each layer of shadow has probably taken me half hour-ish to do. So 5 times that just to lay down the shadows you see. And I don't know if you can notice, but his uniform shirt is actually a different shade than the rest of it. So I'm starting to build up the layers, and then what I'm working on now is the web gear, because that will be a different color, and then his brown pads here, and then the flesh is. I'm going to do the flesh last, more than likely, his hands and face, and then I still have to do his rifle, and then I have to do some what's the putty stuff?
Green
Milliput?
stuff.
Green stuff. Thank you. Green stuff, and make a new chin strap for him and a sling for his rifle. But that will be like some of the very last things I do. But yeah, so
Nice.
my plan is, if I feel good enough with this one, I may enter it in a painting contest down the road. We'll see. I've never been big one in painting contests, but that's what I'm thinking. That's really what I've been working on, and been doing a couple of things behind the scenes. But you really have to have patience to do this kind of. And this is the first time I've ever done one in this scale. What is this, 1/116th scale? So yeah. And the scary thing about it is, if you make a boo-boo, you see the boo-boo.
Yeah, right.
So, on 15 mil or 10 mil or even 28 mil, sometimes you can get away with a little boo-boo. Not so much on this scale. So,
Well, it
Yeah.
looks like you're off to a great start there.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm a fan of painting contests. I don't win
Mhm.
them much, but it's fun just to put something in there and then see where everybody what everybody else is putting in and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm really good at I was gonna say losing. That's not really the case, and
Uh-huh.
that would be how I play games. But for the painting contest, it's not really losing. It's just not being selected as best in show or whatever, I guess.
You're a fan of participating.
But
Yeah,
yes, I
that's
am.
cool.
I like the process.
Yeah.
And you can get some good feedback sometimes as well. So you're like, all right, well, my guy did great, or my guy wasn't chosen to win his division, whatever. But you can talk to other painters and the judges about is this a what could I do to improve this? How
Yeah.
can I get better as a painter?
And you never know. You could always luck out and have nobody else enter.
Yes. And I literally have that trophy. No one else was in that division. Woohoo!
Nailed it.
One by default.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I've been working on. What you been working on?
In a shock to no one, if we look behind us, the mess on the table back here, that would be my piles of magic cards because in my neuroses, I like to sort and kind of recategorize things in a way that makes sense to me so that when I build, I can find things easily. So, with some of the recent stuff that I have acquired, I've now the method to my madness is sorted by color, and then you separate it between creatures in, like, say, green, and then there's the next section that is instants and sorceries,
Mhm.
you know, and then your land stuff, and so it'll help you if you're like, I want to build a green and white deck. Then I only have to look at those things and can readily assemble stuff. So, and this
Just
is
go
going
to
to be
your green
helpful
pile.
for I'm going to be helpful for Jesse because Jesse wants to build a standard deck to play too. Because as right now he has 2 commander decks, which is fun and we like to do that. But if it's just he and I playing against each other, a commander deck head to head is not usually a great experience. So I'm going to let him share some of my cards.
There you
Cool.
go.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on. All right. So we're going to transition into some news. Good morning, Ben. News-wise, I would play Marty's news thing, but he doesn't deserve it.
No,
Wow.
Marty did, full disclosure, Marty did not bring any news to the game
Right.
today. So
So here
no gold
we
star
go.
for me.
Here we go. So the first thing coming up is a project from Sarissa Precision, Destroyed City. As you can see here, let me make sure I get it right. Where are we? Where is that? Oh, there it is. Okay. So you have a full Destroyed City. So 28 mil. If you want to do some Stalingrad, right, Jim? Big Destroyed City battle.
Yeah, I wish
So-
they don't have it available in 15.
That's a good question. I don't know. Let's look. Here's pre-colored.
Chris.
If you want to go that route, yeah, Chris. Actually, you know what? I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm kind of going to the Chris Bandcamp. When you just don't have time, if you can buy something that's already pre-colored, why not? If it doesn't look like shit, why not? Let's see.
It is cool to have ruined buildings, though. 'Cause,
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
we've done our own homemade, scratch built, custom built, whatever you want to call it, buildings.
Mhm.
That's easy enough to do. What's really hard to do is to make your own scratch built and ruined buildings.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder than intact buildings.
All right. I'm looking under the 15 mil category to see if they have the same
No,
stuff.
just curious.
It's not looking like it, is it?
It's all pre-colored. That's
They're very nice, but they're all intact.
well, we know that didn't. Well, there's a ruined building there, destroyed chateau,
Excuse me.
and then the non-pre-colored destroyed stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some nice.
So was that
destroyed
MDF?
stuff. Yeah, it's MDF.
Nice.
They have a new color process where they can pre-color stuff, fences, stuff like that. Yeah, I don't see the big city things though.
Mm-mm.
Wah,
Which
wah,
what was
wah.
this? What was the scale on that big city? one?
28.
28.
That was 28. So that was
Yeah.
big then.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
wouldn't they have it for 15? That's really strange.
That's a good question. I don't know. I was gonna say because 28 is more popular, but it's not necessarily true. I hate those trees. But here they got a destroyed factory.
Yeah.
Because bolt action, it's 28 mil, but
Yeah.
Flames of War is 15. And Jim plays a lot of 20 mil, so you can kind of get away with 15-ish if you're not really high on the scale side. If you're not one of those people. But
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
there's that. So that's the first thing. Destroyed City Battlefield in a box. Moving on, let's see what we have next. And we're going to go right into this, which I thought was very interesting. From Ammo, they have the NATO and Bundeswehr vehicles, colors, and weathering system. So for those who want to get into some serious painting, you can get the ammo system to paint and weather your NATO vehicles. So, and it's limited edition, only available until stock runs out. $73. So, I don't do enough vehicles right now to justify that. So, but I thought it was very interesting, especially since we've talked about ammo MiG before. So, that's a good one.
Yeah, and it looks like you get your money's worth out of that.
Yeah. And then moving down the list, Imperial. Now this is from Micro Art Studio. So if you're into sci-fi, or I don't know if you could use it for historical, it's more of dark universe stuff, 40K-ish, that kind of stuff. But again, this is MDF. That's pre-colored.
I was just going to ask if this was pre-colored, but
Yeah.
it looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can get another page to come up, but it's all the same picture
Yeah.
essentially. But yeah, I mean, this is the way the market's going.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of talk about this today, but I mean, the detail and everything on it looks really good.
How much is that?
How much is that? She asks.
Well, you'll find out when it gets there.
98 euros. So it's about $105. That's not bad, actually.
I was gonna say that's not a horrible price.
No,
No.
not for fully pre-colored stuff from Micro Arts. So
What scale is that? Is that 28?
it's 28
Yeah.
because it's for basically 40K.
Infinity or 40K.
Yeah. So
And I gave you a link to something in a Game Found, whatever, or the Kickstarter variants. It's in the Skype link.
let's see. And then we're going to go to an update from Lord of the Rings for a new baddie. We have Freka, Lord of the West March. He's a bad dude. So this is the new mini that's coming out with the new rule set.
Very cool.
Yep. So interesting mini.
Yeah.
Nothing terribly exciting
Do we
about
know
him.
him?
I don't really know
I
Freka.
don't either. Okay.
He's known across the Rohan for his arrogance and his pride,
Hmm.
and his ambition to secure the throne of Rohan for himself, for his son Wolf. So basically, it's
So he's like a Dunling
yeah,
King wannabe guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I don't remember reading him in the books,
I
but
was
I
gonna
guess
say they didn't talk a whole lot about any characters there. They just said,
Yeah.
their army came across and did this or whatever. But
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to believe he is a created character for the new show coming out, the War of the Rohirrim. I don't think he's actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that very well could be, yeah.
yeah. So, let's see. What else do I have here under the news? Oh yes. Speaking of bolt action, they are now creating a bolt action introductory set. So in this set, you get a special set of rules. You get a box that turns into a building. You get the famous ruins that everybody gets, and you get some minis. I think it's just a squad each. So you get some Wehrmacht, it looks like, and you get some U.S. infantry. So it looks like the 29th
And
infantry.
that is not a bad price point.
$68? No.
So, going back to our conversation from the last show, that is a much lower barrier to entry for
Yes.
people. If somebody really just wants to give it a shot, they're not sold on whether it's going to be something they want to.
This would be great for doing demos in stores.
Big time. Big time. Yep.
They
'cause you
saw the podcast.
That's
See,
right.
hey! No, they listened.
Yeah.
So then you have, a play mat. You get the silly buildings there. I thought you closed the door.
I did.
You didn't lock
She
it.
pushed it open.
Anyway, so then you get the rules field manual here. How to play, quick, easy play. Then you get the box building, as you can see. And then here's the thing that people are kind of complaining about. You get is it called a Hammermag, Jim? What's the German half track?
It's one of the German ham tracks.
Yeah.
That looks like it. An SDKFZ 251.
Okay. Well, you get it as a cardboard piece.
That's lame.
Well,
That is very lame.
So you get a standee.
Hey, $68.
Yeah, I agree.
I know, yeah.
But
I mean,
I'm going to be honest with you. I would have preferred this in plastic and take the buildings and make them the cardboard.
agreed.
Yeah,
fair enough.
You're,
Yeah, no,
you're already going with a the box that's convertible
Yeah.
for part of
Yeah.
the decor. So
So
yeah.
I don't know. When you look at the picture, and I'm going to bring the main picture back up. I don't know if I can enlarge it at all, but let's see if I can. Not really, but you can see it right here. It's a standee.
Yeah.
It kind of cheapens the look of the set, to be honest with you. I mean, I can get away with the box as a bunker. Sure. Okay.
The bunker's kind of cool. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what bunkers
right?
kind of look like. Yeah.
Yeah. But this, holy shit.
I mean, bolt action vehicles are not cheap.
No,
Yeah.
they're not. And I
just
agree.
bought. I just in fact, there's probably something that's going to be coming out pretty soon on the channel. I bought a Jeep, an American Jeep, an American half track, and 2 weapons crews, a 30 cal crew and an 81 millimeter mortar crew.
Yeah.
To kind of bulk out my Americans, so they might actually have a chance against my Germans. It was like $100. It was like $98 for those 4 things.
Yeah. So, I mean,
By the way, I sent that 75 millimeter artillery piece and crew up to you. I don't know if you got it.
I got it. We got it. Thank you very much.
Cool.
I was going to say that today. So thank you very much. It's your typical bolt action stuff. I mean, for $68, Dawn's right. It's perfect entry point to get somebody.
Sweet spot.
Okay, so I have to ask, guys, what did this dude bribe her to play bolt action? Right? So, just saying. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might, yeah, we should probably have that guy on the show to figure out if he's cracked the code on this.
Hey, David, how are you, sir?
Hey, I gen war games once in a while. I get her to play war games.
Yep.
Now, Ben, just to be fair, $68 gets you 2 plastic squads. You get a building. You get a real. I mean, for $68, it's really not a bad.
Yeah, it's not just for the cardboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And it's Warlord. I mean, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me make sure that was my last news piece.
And again, if it's you and a friend, if it's somebody from your game store and you're decided like, hey, do we want to give this a try? Sure. Now take that $68 in half.
Right.
And even better, so.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And it's way better than like the giant sets.
Yeah.
Where,
yeah.
Yeah. It's much better than the giant sets.
That way you're not paying, a couple $300, whatever. And then you're like, it's not really my jam.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true, Jen. So true.
Damn it.
But I mean, for $68, that's actually really great. And like I said, you buy a couple of those for your store. You have a demo there. I mean, obviously, stores are going to really pump it up, and they're going to have nice terrain and the table. But to throw something out real quick and just say, hey,
yeah,
there you go. All right. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up news-wise?
The thing that I sent you, but I was going to ask you guys a question.
I can't get the Skype out there. You should have sent it in the private chat.
Or you could just tell us what it is.
Yeah. Or you could just do that too, Chris.
So GameFound has a Kickstarter for Dungeons Reforged, and it's like a knockoff of the Dwarven Forge modular sets.
And I have to believe it's probably more affordable than the Dwarven Forge ones.
Well, it depends. There's an all-in. There is an all-in option there for you, Bill. That is just incredible.
Well,
shut up, Chris.
All right, that's Chris. It's not me.
Yep. I'm going to use that one.
Hold on, man. I'll see if I can access
you all
it.
Don't get one for this. That's not how this works.
Hold on. Let me see if I can click into it.
I'm saving mine, Don.
Uh-huh.
All right. Let me share this page.
Oh, these do look cool.
Okay. It is by Dwarven Forge.
Oh, okay, good.
So they ripped themselves off? What?
Yeah.
I thought it was a ripoff, but
Yeah. It's
Hand
Dwarven Forge.
painted. Yep.
and yeah, so these are hand painted, and you don't have to paint them.
Let's see what it shows here.
Nothing to show here.
Nothing to show here. Where's the stuff? Where's the rewards?
I just had to scroll all the way down.
Okay.
Doop, 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 doop.
I mean, if you know
Holy
it,
crap.
bless him.
The master bundle is $1,230.
Well, that's Dwarven Forge for you. I mean,
Yeah.
go to the convention where they have their booth and you just start
Uh-huh.
putting pieces in a basket and see what that price tag
Yep.
is.
Oh God, their display always looks so good though. You
does.
can't. It stops you in your
Oh,
tracks.
I mean, it's painted.
What?
So.
But then,
And
Why
then
did
you
you
see what
stop?
it costs, and you're like, no.
Well, it has to look good because, well,
yeah.
Keep going.
The
Bill.
Ultimate
There he
Dungeon
is, bro.
bundle is only $5,700.
But you save from
Yeah, no.
the high price of 7,001.
okay, your girl math is not working.
That's what I was like. Yeah, even girl math.
'Cause
I'm
not
does
one.
Not track.
I mean,
So, Chris, here's the thing. If I was heavy into D&D right now, I might consider doing some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to shout out to my friend Tom Tullis at Fat Dragon
Mhm.
Games. He has 3D print campaigns, and one of them is for dungeons and stuff, and I actually have it. So I can print stuff. I mean, granted, this is probably all resin-ish, and it's all painted and weathered. So, yeah, it takes a lot of the labor out. And people will buy this. This is a very bougie project.
Yeah.
I used the word bougie.
Yeah.
Bougie. Yeah,
Well,
so-
it's
is.
1,900 pieces.
Yeah.
So-
Well, no, I get it, Chris. I'm not saying
Well-
it's not worth it. It's just not something the
Yeah.
average person's going to buy.
And then we get
So-
into the where do you store that?
Right.
That's the other part.
Yeah.
Like I mean, a game store or something, or if you,
Oh
and
yeah, no, I hear
if you're
you.
a person that's running a long time
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons campaign and you have that room
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
it.
no,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. However, I think I would get more use out of something that you can reconfigure. than,
100%.
I don't know, the Alamo.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No. Fuck
So
you.
let's-
No.
So let me
Children.
see. $485,000 raised so far. So they've got 3 pledges.
Yes. Pretty much.
I kid. It does
yeah.
look like a really good product. Way too rich for my blood.
Oh
although
yeah,
No,
absolutely.
it's
the nerd
very
that-
good stuff. It's very
I'm the
good
nerd
stuff.
that likes to build and paint it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of not on the table for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it does look nice.
Yeah,
you know,
no.
$5,000 though. There's a bunch of other stuff I might buy first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Well,
All right.
for that price, you'd be paying for your divorce.
All right,
or my
guys.
funeral.
Yeah.
You've met my wife, right?
All right, we're going to transition over to the main topic. The main topic being the bubble has burst. So a few years ago, I'm going to say around 2018, a mutual friend of ours, Warren, during several of their weekender shows, said, we're in the golden age of gaming, right? COVID hit, everybody's stuck at home, have nothing to do. So what do? They watch YouTube videos and they order a whole bunch of game stuff, hobby stuff, crafting stuff, all that kind of stuff you can do at home. Yes. And now, and then Kickstarter became big, right? Kickstarter became big. People are ordering stuff left, right, and center. And here we are in 2024, and everything's starting to implode.
Yep.
Truly.
Crumbling.
A lot of crumbling. And one of the big announcements that came out this week is that Mythic Games no longer exists. They closed up shop. We knew it was coming,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. If you're not familiar with Mythic Games, they created Pantheon. Mythic Battles
Battles.
Pantheon in conjunction with Monolith. Then Monolith took over Pantheon. And then they took over Mythic Battles, not Pantheon. And they've created the one we have now, Ragnarok. And then the Egyptian one. Let's talk about it. So you have Mythic Games who's imploded. They no longer exist. Kickstarter killed them, and they mismanaged money. I'm just going to put it out there. If nobody else wants to say it, I'm going to say it. They mismanaged their money. They brought in millions of dollars in their Kickstarter campaigns. And they, at the end, were messaging people, because we still back them on a couple other projects we're never going to see. And we're asking for more money to complete the projects because of COVID. Everybody was using the war in Ukraine and COVID as an excuse for I overestimated the costs or I overspent in this and blah, blah, blah.
They were just too quick to get into the next project.
Yeah. Well, it was a pyramid scheme.
Well, I was going to say it was a Ponzi scheme for the last project.
Yes.
Yeah.
I now have to create a new project so I can pay for the remainder of my old project because the money from the old project is gone on stupid shit.
Yeah.
This is why I don't pay attention to the business side of the hobby. I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's supposed to be a hobby. People who get into this to be for a business are barking up the wrong fucking tree.
Yeah. So Mythic Games is gone, and there's a whole bunch of people out. Pledges. You have, let's talk about CMON and Fantasy Flight Games and Asmodee.
Everyone getting absorbed.
Yep, everybody's being absorbed into the world of Asmodee. CMON is a skeleton of what it used to be.
Yep.
Well, truly, if anything points to that fact more than anything, is Adepticon this year. If you go to Adepticon, did anybody see a CMON booth?
Nope.
No. CMON used to have their own painting competition.
Well, they
had
had
a
that
big booth. That it wasn't CMON. It wasn't CMON. It's all gone. Okay, so they're basically hanging on by their skin of their nails because of Zombicide.
Yeah.
That's it.
That is really their identity.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Yep.
Is Zombicide.
I think they've done a couple of little Kickstarters for some other individual. CMON has always been guilty of using Kickstarters pre-order, period.
Yep.
And people have gotten upset with that. And the Zombicide train only goes so far before you're like, this is just stupid. It's just a rehash of Zombicide. People love Zombicide. Don't get me wrong. My sons love Zombicide. Zombicide's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
We're fans of it.
Yeah.
Now that's when I can get the wife and kids to play.
Yeah.
CMON is a skeleton of its previous existence. Fantasy Flight Games. It is nowhere near the juggernaut that it used to be. Truly. They gave away all their miniature-based games to Atomic Mass Games, which is a subsidiary of Asmodee. They're producing Star Wars Unlimited card game right now. I think they did a new edition of Twilight Imperium. I don't know what else that Fantasy Flight does these days.
Didn't they last summer, last fall? Like their two highest executives left the company as well to join another one?
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember that story, but I want to say that they had a couple of the bigwigs, like in the top 2 or 3 people in the company that took off and either they formed their own company or they joined another one.
Yeah. So right now I'm looking at the Fantasy Flight site, and it is basically cards-based games.
Yep.
Game of Thrones. If you go under Game of Thrones, they say they have a board game, but nobody really plays the board games. It's all pretty much card games. Trivia game. Android Universe, which used to be a huge card game.
I haven't heard anyone talk about that.
Nobody's doing anything with that. No.
Actually.
Arkham Horror card game.
That one is
a
still
board
out
game.
there.
I mean, the board game's actually good for Arkham Horror.
Those have a significant following.
Marvel card game. They are literally a shadow of what they used to be. Journeys to Middle Earth is probably the best board game that I can say right now that Fantasy Flight produces.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars, they have Star Wars Unlimited. They have the deck building game, which was a total sham, for my opinion. We bought this game called Star Wars: The Deck Building Game. It's one box.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Star
the
Wars
same
is
thing.
fucking dead anyway. Come on, let's get fucking real.
So, I mean, Fantasy Flight is nowhere near what it used to be. It's just sad. A lot of the smaller companies are consolidating or going away.
Yeah, well, look at like the Privateer Press and
Yeah,
Steve
Privateer
Forge.
Press and Steam Forge.
Like they're just kind of getting absorbed in there. It's we've gone from this big umbrella and now it's compressing
Yeah.
into a
And
small handful.
one of the downfalls to this was COVID's over. So people now have ability to go places, do things besides stuck at home playing games.
Yep.
Also,
Also, they might have to go to work.
right.
Yeah,
They have to go to
there's
work,
that.
right?
Yep.
Just saying.
And literally, Kickstarter has killed the game industry. And people probably will disagree with me on some. And at one point, it was a vital tool for unknown people who had no funding to get a product out there. However,
I still think it's very valuable for that, but it's gotten so far
Yeah.
away from that being its intent
Yeah.
anymore that's lost in the rest of the noise.
yeah, it's now more of a pre-order system. But a lot of companies, especially smaller ones, got so caught up in the hype of Kickstarter. We're going to promise you, if you buy this, we get to this level, you'll get this, and you'll get this, and you'll get this, and before you know it, you had this tremendous, huge. I mean,
There's your FOMO.
yeah, there's your FOMO. But if you remember, a prime example is the Mythic Battles Pantheon when they did the 1.5 release. There were people sending in pictures of their all-in package, and they would stack the boxes, and they'd be like 7 feet tall, of stuff. And then 4 or 5 months later, what did you see on eBay and in
All
the
of it.
gaming groups? I have no room for this stuff. I don't play this stuff. I'm looking to sell this. People got caught up in the hype. The reality of it hit, and I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to do with all this stuff? And some people didn't even open the boxes. They're like, I'm not really even interested in it. I was just excited to be part of something, you know? So there's an oversaturation of the game market. Too many choices. Too many choices. Choice is good, but when you get to the point where you're oversaturating the market, then it's not so good.
Yeah, little
right?
Hick's Law kicking in there, just trying to figure out what to get.
Right. Now, here's where I see stuff happening. GW is always going to be at the top of your list, right?
Sadly.
It's going to survive.
Yeah.
It really is. When you go into a game store, there are two main lines of games that you see being played. Magic the Gathering and 40K, or some version of a Games Workshop game. Those are the two main things. Now, there are some game stores like Games Plus up in Mount Prospect that has a historical night where the historical gamers get together and they play some historical game. But not every shop does it because it's not a money producer, right? Now, there are some that have really promoted Bolt Action very well, and they do have a following. So here's where I see the market. If it continues on the trend that I see happening, you're going to have GW games up at the top. You're going to have Bolt Action, so Warlord Games and Flames of War in the next tier down. Possibly Infinity, Corvus Belli. That's a very niche game. It's a what do you call it? A boutique game. Not a lot of
I
people
was
play
gonna say,
it.
that many people even play Infinity anymore?
There are
They've
groups
got
of it.
They've got a pretty dedicated following, but it's
they have a tournament system, but mostly in.
As
To that, I would also add Catalyst Game Labs and BattleTech is still hanging on.
Yep,
100%.
BattleTech will always be there in that tier somewhere, right? Below that, you're going to have some of the other miniature-wise games come and go, right? Now, like Knuckle Duster, Western Minis, there's always going to be some of that sitting some. A lot of games we're not going to see mainstream are going to be ones that play in either game clubs or in people's homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, United States doesn't have a robust game club system like Europe does. Jim belongs to a games club, and he's very lucky to have one, where a lot of places don't have it. Okay.
But even then, it's not
in the tradition
it's
that
not like a money maker thing. I mean, we don't buy miniatures just to buy miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's a true games club. They're not sponsored by a store. They have their own space. They can play what they want. They can do what they want as far as, we're going to play this battle or we're going to design this. where some game stores sponsor games clubs, and I have seen one game store that says you can only play products I sell.
Yep.
Goodbye. Hard pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, from a business standpoint, I
don't care
understand
about
why.
the business standpoint. I mean,
Well, I know, but
I'm not talking about just like the
There are
topic
others-
of the conversation. I'm not talking
So-
about that. I'm talking about if you're in gaming just to make money. I mean,
Mhm.
I think you're missing the point.
Well, that and
Well-
to your point, Jim, when the store says something like that, it's a business decision. The problem is now you put that player or that club, that group of players, in the position to make the choice. Okay, either I do or I don't, and that might not be the business decision you thought you were gonna come out on.
It's a business decision. It's a shitty one because you just chased away 80% of your customers.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to play your
maybe
shitty
that's
ass games
why.
that's just driven by the last piece of
Yep.
shit that came out on Kickstarter that relies on some IP that's going to be extinct in 4 months because nobody supports your trash anymore. I mean, how many of these big
Yeah.
Kickstarter games do people buy and then the game is basically extinct like less than a year later because nobody
Yep.
supports it?
So
Right.
true.
That's when you
Very
see all
true.
this stuff on eBay.
You know,
Well, I
also
was buying this. I mean, that's one of the secret things why historical is always going to be around. You buy a Sherman tank, you can use that in almost any game system. But if you buy like a certain
Yep.
sci-fi character that belongs to this mythos and this universe and this, this background, as soon as that background goes away, what are you going to use that in? You can't use that in 40K. You can't use that in Infinity or Malifaux or anything like that. You're just stuck with a piece of junk on your shelf that might look pretty,
Yeah.
but it's useless.
Yeah, and also with the
Very true.
Kickstarter model, so you paid, you made your pledge, and now you have to wait for these things to be produced more often than not. They don't have a bunch of them sitting around waiting to go out.
Oh yeah, it's always
Yeah.
out of stock.
Yeah, so now you're waiting, I don't know, 6 months, a year, 2 years. Well,
Never.
And what's the
when that
average
time
attention
passed-
span of the average war gamer?
Yeah.
It's not 6
Not
months or
long.
a year. I promise you that.
Yeah. Yep. They'll go on. They'll move on to the next bigger, greater thing, and that's the other downfall of Kickstarter: the lead time from collecting the pledge to, if you deliver, to delivery, which is typically a year to almost 2 years if you're on track, right? There are a few companies that actually produce their stuff, or at least have the molds and everything done. They're ready to go to production as soon as they get the funding, and they are able to deliver within a much shorter time span, which is a great way a model to do it. But to Jim's point, there are some games that we got Kickstarter wise. I could care less when we got them. It's like, yeah, I'm over that.
By then
so
we found something else that
Yeah.
we're already excited about that you're not waiting
Yeah.
another 3 years to have in hand and you've moved on.
I
Yeah,
mean,
So
exactly.
because
I
the
think
FOMO got
Kickstarter.
ya.
I think Kickstarter.
yeah.
On the one hand, it was great. It allowed a lot of new people into the market as far as creative ideas go. On the other hand, it let a lot of people who aren't good at business into the
Mhm.
business.
Yep.
And guess what? They didn't last.
Yep.
And I say that with every awareness. I mean, 4 or 5 friends of mine got together back in 1991. We opened up a gaming store. I was 20 at the time. A Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps. Guess how much I knew about running a business? I mean, any of us. We were out of business within a year because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We had a lot of fun. Didn't lose
Yeah.
that much money, or at least I didn't lose that much money, but we didn't know what the hell we were doing. Because,
Yeah.
if you're going to get into, wargaming as a business, say goodbye to your hobby. You just lost your hobby.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that I've had back in 2022, I was doing the publication for the Stalingrad DLC. Actually, it wasn't the DLC. It was supposed to be the DLC. It became the actual game release. I wrote that freaking game release for them. And man, that was a rough year, man, because there was a lot of work in that. And when your hobby becomes your job,
Yep.
especially if you're not that good at your job, then which I'll be honest, I wasn't. To be fair,
Well, judging by the end product, I think you did all right.
well, I didn't code it.
Yeah.
All I do is I did all the research in the background. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
code the game or anything for them, but it was a very positive experience. I would do it for them again in a minute, but it was it's I only mention that as an example of what happens when your hobby becomes an actual, somebody expects you to do that nasty 4-letter word WORK.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
You know,
Hey,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to use nasty language on the stream and get us demonetized, but when it becomes
easy.
that,
It's a family show.
it's not really a hobby
Mhm.
anymore, is it?
Yeah.
Yep.
When
No.
people
Nope.
say, oh, do what
So
you
true.
love and you never work a day in your life, that's
Eh,
kind of bullshit.
That's a
Yeah.
lie.
That's just the carrot they dangle in front of you to get you to go to work.
Yep.
And the
Yeah.
carrot
I mean,
is better than the
truly-
stick.
Oh no, the stick is what follows the carrot once it works.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
I mean, truly, I mean, you think about it, Jim is 100% right, because I've owned 2 dive stores, and when we opened the first dive shop, I was so into scuba diving at the time. I mean, I lived, breathed, walked, talked.
Oh,
scuba
that
dive.
kind of dive. I thought you
I'm like,
meant
this would
something
be a
else.
great
Sorry.
business.
Like a dive bar. I think because our gaming store was a hole. I mean, it was a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
It was like a Vietnamese nail salon before we rented it. I mean, it was not like a boutique gaming store.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, you already have all the
That's it.
acrylics there.
There you go.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so we opened a dive shop, and I'm like, yeah, I get to dive all the time. And nobody told me about the bookkeeping and the taxes and,
Permits.
incorporation and, dealing with suppliers and having to do minimums and all this other stuff. So it was no longer the fun just going out and diving part. Even doing classes got to be, it's like, crap, I got to prep for a class. Got to make sure I have tanks. I got to make sure I have my, all that stuff. It wasn't just going to dive. So
Sometimes, putting out content for a YouTube channel, you're 8 hours
Yep.
into an editing job. You're like, what am I doing? Now that only lasts a couple
Yeah.
hours, because then you get done. You're like, wow, I can't wait for this to go out. This is great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even something as simple as this sometimes
yeah.
Mhm.
has its moments. You just got to power through it. But this is nothing
Yeah.
compared to actually running an actual business.
Yeah. So I think that's where a lot of these game companies, smaller ones, have fallen or stumbled, is because it's gamers who love what they do as a gamer.
Yep.
And they're like, I'm going to make this my life. And then they get into it and go, crap, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Or they don't know how to run a business. And then they misstep. And then,
Well, and to your point about then making the model be where we're going to sponsor these things, but you have to play the things that we sell
yeah.
because you're trying to make your business functional and survive. And it's like, maybe that's why in the States we don't have the game club culture. Like maybe it's because we have always tried to force that model
It's possible.
for our things to work. And
Yeah,
Well,
that's possible.
As
I don't know.
Americans, we don't have the attention span either.
Well, that leads, good segue, Chris.
Yep.
So it's going to lead into the next, as the game market consolidates, what I see happening, because attention spans are getting shorter.
Yep.
I don't think they're getting longer anymore. I think because there's so much stimulus from the outside world. I mean, this freaking thing is annoying as hell. People live by those things. They're attached to them. They can't go 5 minutes without looking at Facebook or TikTok or whatever crap on them. So what I see happening is that the game market, and I'm talking war gaming mostly. Board games will be around because board games are board games, right? Typically, you can pull out a board game, play it in an hour, and you're done, if and less, right? From a war gaming standpoint, I see the market adjusting. You're going to see more one-piece miniatures, multicolored, because they're already doing multicolored printing, where you don't even have to paint them anymore. You can just pull them out of the box, put them on the table, and play a game. I personally, and I know this is probably a big reach, and Jim might applaud me for this one, but I see the resurgence of war games in a box,
Yeah.
like those two sitting behind, 3 behind him right
Well, I mean,
now. Where you,
I mean, first of all, pre-painted minis, nothing wrong with them. That's how I got into miniature wargaming. I started buying. I mean, I never really played the game for it, but the old 15 millimeter Axis and Allies, not the board game. Back in the day, Axis and Allies actually had like a miniatures like a Flames of War
Mhm.
type game. And they sold like the starter kit for that was $14. Granted, this is 2003, but you know it was. Then you got like 6 vehicles or something, but it was just enough to barely get you started. And
Mhm.
you know, I mean, of course, they went out of they don't make that anymore, but they made a lot of stuff before they went out of business. They
Yeah.
lasted a while,
Yeah.
and probably. I mean, I've built so much stuff since then that's probably not that big a percentage anymore. But for a while, that was like half of my collection. Were these little pre-painted
Mhm.
indestructible minis? I mean, they weren't great, but from 3 or 4 feet away, they looked the business. And as far as
Yeah.
is the bubble burst? Is gaming? Is this the market? Going through a realignment or a contraction? I mean, this has happened before. I mean, as far as what we were
Mhm.
talking about before, the the golden age of wargaming is dying. The golden age of wargaming died in 1982. So I don't know what we're talking about when we come to 2024. It's died before, and it's come back. I mean, war games like big hex and counter games like this were huge in the 70s and early 80s. And it wasn't the cell phone back then; it was the personal computer. The personal computer came through, and the advent of tabletop role-playing games. D&D was just becoming big back then. And I remember an article by Jim Dunnigan, like the guy who wrote Panzer Blitz. Very, very hostile. It was like these. I mean, he didn't say it like this, but he was like, these friggin' RPGs have killed our goddamn industry. I hate them. And he was right. It did, because people started playing with little pointy hats and magic staffs instead of actual war games. And but that combined with the personal computer, of course, everyone was playing Oregon Trail by that point. Yeah, it pretty much, I mean, Advanced Squad Leader went downhill after that. Panzer Leader was already gone, replaced by Advanced Squad Leader, and Victory Games, SSI, stuff like that kept it going for a little while. And it just changed, like you said. I mean, it did come back, and it's just going to have to change a little bit. SSI, SPI, they went to computer games. We had Steel Panthers, we had Panzer General, and stuff like that. So it'll change. I mean, I agree 100%. In fact, I'm just going to add to your point and say not only do I agree that it's going to happen, it's happened before. History
Mhm.
repeats itself. It's just going to change. It's going to realign, and we're going to look at something new at the far end of it, I think.
Yeah.
So is this a cyclical thing
Yes.
then? Really? I mean, in the grand scheme of things?
Is it a time where I could say every 20 years it happens? No. I think it's just a shift in technology and a world event that happens. To Jim's point, what happened in the early 80s, people were able to put a computer in their home, right? You had, whether it was like a Commodore or an Apple
Mhm.
or,
Yep.
early IBM, whatever, or it was even an Atari or Coleco or in television, those were computers. You just
Yeah.
couldn't, access them
Or
via
like
keyboard.
console
So
gaming. Yeah.
yeah, console
Mhm.
gaming. So that shifted people's, and then RPG, Dungeons and Dragons did become big. So those historical gamers lost youth. The younger people were
Yeah.
drawn away from the historical stuff. So that audience started getting older and losing people. And RPGs and computer games and console games got the younger people because why? It's colorful, it's flashy, it makes
The shiny
sound,
new thing.
you know.
Yep.
So that kind of
I
stuff.
mean, a smaller example is like
Um,
GDW's Harpoon. Very complicated
mhm,
game, very realistic naval war game. Came out in miniature in the early 80s, mid 80s, and it didn't do that great until someone got the bright idea to port it over to PC, where you're
yeah.
unlimited in scale. You don't need a tennis court to play it, because it was like an inch per 1,000 meters or whatever like that. Well, you're playing with modern warships that have, SSMs that shoot up to 300 nautical miles. You need a big, I mean, I literally
Mhm,
played on my dad's tennis court. Um,
Mhm.
most people can't do that, and eventually, it just got to the point where, oh, well, we can play on a computer, and then it enjoyed a big renaissance, and people still play it today.
yep.
Um,
Yep.
we mentioned console gaming. Console gaming came, went, died. Everyone remembers ET and on the 2600 in the big landfill out in Arizona someplace,
Yep.
and it eventually came back. I mean, look at things like the PS5. Nowadays, these things. Star Wars was huge in '83. It kind of struggled along until the early '90s, and it friggin' died. Oh, Star Wars is dead. Star Wars is dying. It's happened before. and it was probably the best thing that happened to it. People need a break from stuff every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. That's very true too. It's very true too. So, where do you see gaming going? Miniature wargaming.
I do think we have come to an impasse and and we've probably seen this cyclically a little bit too. It just in what people are aware of. So from a either direct involvement with it or exposure to it from via advertising, right?
Mhm.
Because I think the miniature gaming industry as a whole has always suffered a little bit from the point of unless you are a person that is, a child of somebody that plays those kind of games or has a friend that plays those kind of games, that might have been your only point of exposure to it because a lot of those things were not sold at big box stores.
Mhm.
So if you've never gone into a physical game store, you may not even know some of these things exist. So I do think the market exposure is going to be a big driver on what is successful moving forward these days. And maybe that's a little bit of what we've seen with some of the Asmo days scooping up all of these other things and bringing it under one fold because then that reach can be broader.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like I think they're always going to be there to Jim's point, things that have a classic following are always going to have that classic following, but like how do we sustain it? How do
Right.
we bring new people into the game to help keep that pool of players alive and keep the game out there in existence?
In some ways, you have to
So,
turn into the skid. I mean, part of what killed, or at least heavily damaged, tabletop wargaming in the early '80s, they survived by adapting those very things that kind of put them out of business into their business model. So if we're going to see another big round of wargaming in the future, it's going to have to use the internet. It's going to have to use smartphones. It's going to have to, somehow incorporate those things that people are paying attention to. You have to go where the audience is, in some
Right.
ways.
yeah.
Good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Honestly, I still think you're going to see miniature wargaming going to one-piece minis where you don't have to spend time assembling. There will be some hobby, if they want to do that, but for mainstreamers, they're going to want just to put the minis out of a box, put them on the table, put some terrain out, and play the game. Put it away, and then that's the way it's going to be.
I definitely agree about the one-piece mini part. I can't stand building infantry.
Yeah.
Just personally. It's bad enough
Yeah.
I got to paint them. I got to build them first. I don't
Yeah,
mind
but,
building vehicles, but infantry, come on.
well, you get a game like Memoir 44 that has kind of crossed over into the mainstream because you can find that retail. I mean, literally, you can go to Target and pick it up.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's your
Yeah.
other thing. You put some of these games in the big box
They
stores.
need to be. I honestly think there's a whole untapped culture of potential gamers that would never know that these things exist.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I mean, the idea is though is we're not hurting for players. It's the market consolidating.
Yeah.
But where's the market going to go to continue to grow, develop, attract more people? And big box stores is one of them. The games being less time on putting, taking a sprue and cutting off the little things and having to glue it and then paint it. And because I can tell you, there are some people who are totally turned off by that idea
Oh, yeah.
that want to play the game, but they do not want to spend hours assembling
Yeah,
miniatures.
they
and
see a
painting.
sprue and they're like, nope, I'm out.
Yep.
Yep.
Which,
Exactly.
if you're a gamer versus a hobbyist, I get, I enjoy the
Yeah.
building and painting part of things. I do more of that than I do gaming. But that, that's not everybody. There's some folks that just want to
Right.
play their damn game. So,
Yeah,
make it so they can play.
That was me in 2014. I was like, there are certain things that Axis and Allies game Axis and Allies miniatures game I mentioned that they didn't have, and that's how I first got into Battlefront. I was like, I gotta go to this other company. That's the same scale. It'll be okay. What? It's in different pieces. I have to put it together first. I mean, it was like 4
Oh.
pieces. It was like 6 pieces. I was all like, I wasn't used to it yet.
They got you.
A
Yeah.
year later, I'm building 45 pieces Panthers in 15 millimeter. But at first, I was like, "Come
Yeah.
on, I got to build this stupid thing first."
Each,
Jeez.
each one of these road wheels is independent. What?
Oh,
And so here's another tag on question. So you get somebody who goes to a game store, they play a demo, we'll say of Bolt Action, right? And they're like, "Oh my God, this is a great game. I want to play this." And they're like, and the guy goes, "Here's the starter set. You need to start playing." He's like, "Okay, great. I'm all excited. I'm gonna go home and play this." Right? He goes home and he opens it up and sees sprue after sprue, and then he spends hours, to Jim's point, creating 45 infantry
and because it's
dudes.
his first one, they probably don't come out that well.
Right,
Yeah.
and he loses the illusion of fun.
Yeah.
It's like, my God, this is work. When am I ever going to play this game?
Should
You
have bought
know?
the
So
the new introductory set for $68.
you still got
You
to
gotta build
assemble
them.
them,
Yeah.
though. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
You
But
still
it's
got to
only like
assemble
12
them.
dudes instead of like 60.
But to
Right.
some people, 12 dudes is too much.
Yeah.
I honestly think the perfect starter set for Bolt Action would have been one-piece minis right out of the box. Let's get you playing right now.
In 2 different
Let's get
colors.
you excited
sprues.
about the game. Two
Yeah.
different color
Yep.
sprues.
Yep.
You don't have to paint them. It can be green and gray like our old Army men were back in the day. But I'm telling you, with the modern printing technology we have, you can print full colored minis.
The color's not the issue. Can you
So
paint? Can you make one-piece minis with some of the poses that Bolt
yeah,
Action uses?
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I
don't
guess
know.
maybe I'm.
I don't know.
I mean, mold making's not easy. You got to do the undercuts
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But
That's one reason I stick with
but
this.
even if they were 3D printed
Yeah.
minis, Jim, you know, if you go to a place that has a 3D printing farm, you could print these minis all day long.
I mean, that's one
So
reason I stick with 15 mil. There's no such thing as building. Well, almost no such thing as building miniatures in 15 mil. As far as infantry goes,
yeah,
it comes on a sprue, but there's just each one you kind of clip off, and that's your guy. The worst you have to do is
yeah,
put a
Yeah.
base on them,
Yeah.
and even that's 15 and
yeah.
20. 28, you almost always have to build the infantry.
So that's the first phase I see a lot of games going to. They'll move away from a hobby standpoint to a game point. There'll still be the hobby point. The next one will be a lot of stuff transitioning to, and we're already seeing it, to computer-based games, right? You see a lot of our war games going to computer, whether it's tabletop simulator or Jim's Excel. But as things progress, you're going to see a lot more people playing miniature war games via virtual
Yeah,
reality
there's a
or
person in our
augmented
Discord
reality.
that's doing Air War C21 in tabletop miniature now, or on virtual tabletop now. Big
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
You guys were having a big discussion about that earlier this week.
And again, that solves a few problems. One, I don't have to assemble or paint minis. I don't have to have a whole bunch of terrain. I can play with anybody
That's
around the
the big
world, so
one.
I don't have to go anywhere.
That's the big one because
Yep.
gamers
Yep.
are few and far between. The bigger net you cast,
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think that you will also see mobile games, something that you can play on your phone. I think that you'll see those versions of those that go along with miniature games or vice versa. But I would imagine that you're not going to create a mobile game and then create a miniature game to follow it. You may have a miniature game and then create a mobile version of it, which hopefully brings
Right.
people
Yeah.
into, in our case, because we like our tabletop games. Hopefully, brings people over to the tabletop.
Right.
I've tried a few of those. They're not
Like-
bad. The only issue there is the small size of the screen. Like someone's come
Yeah.
out with like a version. I think they call it Panzer Marshal. It's basically Panzer General 2 on your phone. It's okay. It's just the screen is so small. It's tough
Yeah.
to see where everything that's going on.
Tablet.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
gives you a ton of accessibility, and again, to your guys' point a second ago, that casts a wide net. If you have internet,
Mhm.
you can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's where I feel bad for a lot of the small companies because they don't have the resources and they're either going to get absorbed by a bigger company or they're just going to fold. Because again, there's so much choice in the market right now. There are some games that are really good. Moonstone's a really good game, but
Yep.
it's so small.
Yep.
How many people have heard of Moonstone and have actually played it? They're just unless you've got the resources behind you, I don't see a lot of these games surviving, truthfully in the next couple of years.
Mhm.
And that's sad because that's less choice for people. But some people are to the point where I don't want any more choice. I want to play this game. This is my game. And this is what I'm going to play. I'm going to concentrate on this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to spend what little free time I have on this and my disposable income on this. And,
To be honest, I mean, to your earlier point, Bill, anyone who kind of took advantage of the COVID event and kind of used that as like, oh, this is going to last forever, almost kind of deserves what they got. And to be fair, I've seen that happen, not even just in gaming. I've seen tech companies go down. Where it was just like, oh, well, everyone's buying our stuff now because everyone has to work from home. So we're just going to do all this distributed computing, distributed desktops, and it's going to be like this forever. No one's ever going to come back to an office again. And then their APO targets go out to that expectation. Then they start failing their targets. Their stock price crashes because they keep missing these unrealistic targets. All these targets that were going to last for an unrealistic length into the future. And guess what? They're not in business anymore. So,
yeah.
And Jim, to your point about people with their COVID stuff, our own governments at the local and state level are like, oh, we got this government funding. We're going to create all these new programs and do this stuff. But that government, the federal funding that you're getting, the free money. Now let's convert that over to, hey, everybody's got all this time. I'm going to run this as a Kickstarter campaign, and I'm going to just keep expanding it because I've got all this free money from Kickstarter. Except you don't, because you have to you have to deliver, and then you can't deliver. So I'm going to do another one, and now we get into our little Ponzi scheme, and then dudes don't get their stuff, and your company goes out of business.
Yep. So I don't know. What do you guys think out there in the audience? Drop a comment below. Let us know what you think. And like, subscribe, share this to people out there. We're very close to 2,000 subscribers, guys. We're very close. We're like 50.
Tell your nerd friends. Come on.
1944 last time I checked.
I mean,
1944. What a year.
I was gonna say that's a good number, though.
So, yeah. So for us, for historical wargaming, that's pretty good. Big. That was a big year in 1944. A lot of stuff happened that year. All right, guys. We're gonna wrap up the show at that. I appreciate you all this week. Keep on gaming, and make sure you check out our Discord. A lot of good stuff in there as well. And we will see you on the next show. I appreciate every one of you. For everybody here on the team, thank you very much. And we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the SITREP podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the show. Make sure you like and subscribe to all of our channels on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Discord. Remember to join us every other weekend for a new episode of the podcast, and don't forget our other programming on Wednesdays and Sundays. Thanks for listening.